Seventh Circle Gaming, and today on the channel we're going to analyze the game Hellish Quart. I'll get started here in just a second with the full disclosure. You're welcome to pause the video now and read through these at your leisure, although I will just point out that as of today the game is still in early access and all content is current as of the 21st of October 2022. And with that, let's move on to the screenshots. Now, the first one that we're going to share with you is just the character selection screen. It's important to share this one, I think, because each of these characters has a unique fighting style and a unique sword with attributes to them as far as speed, strength, dexterity, and well, the other sort of typical role-playing game statistics go. And what players are going to be doing with these characters is they're going to be engaging in sword combat in arenas like those in this screenshot shown above. This one is obviously something of a modern setting, but there are other arenas that players can combat in. And with that, let's move on to Chapter 1, which as always is immersion. And Hellish Quart has earned a 5.5 out of 15 for immersion. The primary thing that the game is doing to really get players invested in the game world is challenge. The game attempts to provide challenging tactical combat to players. Some characters are more fast-paced than others. Some are more defensive. So there is that to look into. Secondly, the game attempts to use player agency to get players immersed into the game world. That's why we shared with you that first screenshot and really tried to make the point that each character has a slightly different fighting style and slightly different weapons that they use, which impact how they're played or how they're used. Presentation, as the second screenshot illustrated, hopefully, players are going to be combating in a 3D arena sort of view, not too dissimilar from other fighting games, if we're honest, like Mortal Kombat or Soul Calibur more closely. Although we don't necessarily mean to compare this with those others, we're just saying that that's a similar presentation style. And before we get into much deeper of a hole, let's move on to difficulty. And, well, Hellish Quart is earned a 2 out of 15 for difficulty. There are several options available, and then on top of that, there are going to be other options, especially if the player is competing against the AI, to choose from. But frankly, apart from aggression of AI, we didn't notice any big difference. The difference in fighting styles and the bladed weapons that the character chooses and the player chooses for the AI are going to have more of an impact on difficulty, really, than anything else. The keyboard controls we have found to be usable, but the game does seem to be built around a gamepad. But that is not necessarily to say that a keyboard is unusable. Certainly we didn't find it to be unusable. And with that, we'll move on to Chapter 3, which is Lasting Appeal. And Hellish Quart is earned a 6 out of 15 for Lasting Appeal. To begin with, there are several ways to engage with the software. There's training modes, there's combat against the AI. There is the story mode eventually. That's not active at present, but there will be one eventually. There are multiple characters to try out. So players who get frustrated with one character can always move on to another one. Or if they find one that they really do like, they can play with that one. The game we have found to be fairly easy to learn and difficult to master. So there is the challenging learning aspect of the game that might appeal to some players. It's always possible to reach higher difficulty, different difficulty settings. On the other hand, the game and the matches are very short and fast. So if it's a single match, it might take 2 minutes to complete, maybe. And there's a fair amount of options to adjust that to really what the player has time to commit to. And with that, let's move on into our final chapter, which is overall score. Overall, at the present time, should caveat it with that, Hellish Quart has earned a 4.5 out of 15. We will again point out that the game is in early access. All content is subject to change, balancing, etc. included in that. Now, the next couple of statements we will highlight caveat as being highly subjective, so grains of salt over both shoulders, and whatever else you prefer to do. It does seem like there is a good base to build on that provides quick fun and provides players with the impression or the idea that they are engaging in accurate depiction of medieval, Renaissance, and early Enlightenment era combat with a sword. Players who might have played other games that are set in the medieval times or in similar time periods but just wanted to engage in the sword combat, or might want something simpler that really is just focused on the sword combat, will find something to appreciate in Hellish Quart. And with that, that really is all there is to say about this game. So just end on congratulations. This is the end of the video, and thank you very much if you did make it all the way to the end. Have you tried Hellish Quart yourself? If you have, please leave those comments in the comments section provided. Do all the other YouTube things, and from 7th Circle Gaming, goodbye.